Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm Yann.
And I'm Corey.
We are not the Chuckle Brothers. We are Follow Everton, and we are here to, with a sort of heavy heart, talk about the preview to the Ipswich game, which is sadly and excitingly at the same time, sort of, the penultimate home game, the penultimate game at Goodison Park. Yeah, so thank you for joining us on this Friday evening. I can already see the numbers are trickling up. Yes, how are you doing, Corey?
A little bit under the weather. If I sound a little bit nasally like Lewis Griffin, you know why.
Um,
How about yourself?
and me, I'm good. I've been enjoying the sunshine. I've been enjoying the tail end of a season. Hang on a second. I'm just going to do this for theatrical purposes. La 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 la. I think we all know what I'm la 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 laing about. Um, I had a media blackout about a week or so ago. I've just not checked anything sports or news related, and it's just been joyous. It's been wonderful. I've seen some highlights. I believe Ipswich played Newcastle, and there were some other football games. Yeah, yeah. How everyone else? How's your few weeks been? Because for me, the biggest thing is not having the tail end of the season and not having the departure from Goodison Park overshadowed by another relegation battle.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, a bit of the biggest fear for a lot of people, wasn't it, that we were going into this final season and the final few games as well when we were under Sean Dyche, and it was all stress. It was all fear. Are we going to stay up? And that was going to overshadow the whole thing. But as I know myself, I've been to a couple of games with you, Leicester, Brentford, because we were winning games and because we started to get safe. There was an air of um, positivity, and everyone was able to really start enjoying the final few games and the final few moments at Goodison Park. It's less panicking about the results. It is um, enjoying the experience and just taking it all in. So it's nice that we've got that, but there's two more games and two games that we really want to push on and win both of them, and it's going to require a little bit of hard work. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a very good point to start with. But before we do start, again, thank you for joining us. Get your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, tell everybody, and join us for a post match as well. Hopefully, the first 3 of 6 points that we're going to get at Goodison in the next few weeks. But you said there, sunshine fans say goodbye. Ipswich don't necessarily have much to play for, but then that maybe gives them a breathing room. But as you say, we've seen positive signs, all discussed. To go into it, all discussed in Moyes' press conference today, and he started with, I don't know if you watched it, and I'm sure you did, Corey. I think a lot of viewers will, but for anyone who didn't, the first question he got asked was, "Well, 40 points, would that be an achievement?" And I think, forgive me, but I'm going to open up that there's a bigger thing here. We can sort of follow the press conference, but is 40 points an achievement? Is that sort of complacency? Is it a way of dancing around the houses to say that, we don't have this relegation battle? And then obviously, because Moyes responded by saying, look at the situation when I arrived here.
Yeah, no,
Thoughts?
it's certainly not an achievement. You could grade them
Right?
like you do. It's something to build on. That's all it is, especially considering how poor we were at the start. So it's something to build on. It's certainly not an achievement for these players because they were there at the start as well. And although a lot of it is the previous regime, um, but the upturn in performance, 40 points compared to what we could have been, is a start and a jumping off point. But Gotti is right. Yeah, it's atrocious. You
I
should
mean,
be
look, I
aiming
don't.
for double that.
I understand. I understand as well that there's the general. There's a maximum number of points that you can get, like 190 or 114 or whatever it is. Right? But I know that it aggregates out. There's a maximum number of points that if every game is a win or a loss rather than draws, there's a maximum number of points that can be got in a league. But it seems like such a low point scoring season all round. It's as if points have disappeared. Is that just me or?
No, it does because if you look at the top end of the table, there's teams there who aren't they're not winning by absolutely massive amounts of points. They're not having them like near 100 point campaigns. The bottom end of the table, I mean, Southampton were almost record lowest points. So yeah, what it does mean though is if you look at all them teams which are usually mid-table, they're all fighting for that European position. and Mayville. That's where all them extra points are going, is round about the 10th to 7 mark. Teams which usually won't get them points are getting considerably more. So it's just condensed more in the
I mean,
midfield.
look at it. Case in point, look at it the other week. Was it Wolves beat United?
Yeah.
And I mean, look at where everything's happening in the league. Everyone, get your comments in as well. Roy's just said Ipswich again. The point that what we've often seen, Ipswich will be tricky. That they've already been relegated, but again, we don't want to fingers in too many pies. So many points to bring up from a press conference that Danny seems to think was a bit of a farce. I don't know whether that was the technical side of it or whether it was the fact that half of it was talking about DCL and Moyes was very honest about a lot of stuff. And so, that 40 points being an achievement, as you say, a lot of teams have dropped points, picked up points here, there. Do you see Ipswich coming with a certain freedom, or do you think that they got their sort of asses handed to them or spanked a little bit, punished maybe a little bit at Newcastle last week?
Yeah, they did. I mean, it was mainly set pieces, so hopefully we can whip a few of them in because that's pretty much where most of the goal. I think was it all three of the goals were set pieces. Eventually, obviously one was a penalty.
Yeah, but no, don't. We can't rely on set pieces as was
Yeah,
discussed.
of course. What I would say is from watching Ipswich of late, they're constantly at 6s and 7s in the box. They're constantly at odds. If you get that ball deep and cross it in, they're struggling on the ball as well. Where they seem to be at their strongest is when they've got players running behind the lines, running the channels, and maybe catching you on a counter attack. Apart from that, they've looked worse than what they did at the start of the season. Liam Delap, obviously, there's a lot of talk about him.
Is that but sorry, can I just address again that there's going to be loads of tangents, but maybe I won't do it with too much. But are we just going to be going for relegation? I don't want to discredit the players because McKenna's done really wonderful at Ipswich, considering what he's done, and the players that they've got. Because here's the thing, you could say that Ipswich are going to play with the freedom, but they've been plagued by injuries. Leif Davis is still out, and Ben Johnson is now going to. I think he's going to have a suspension. Is it automatic? One match?
Yeah, so I think he got. Did he get 2 game suspension after the Arsenal game? So he's missed Newcastle. He should miss this one, I believe. So that's both fullbacks gone. They're also missing, I think, Sammy Schmodix is gone. He's injured, I think. Nathan Broadhead. So they're missing a lot of players, and it's something that we should really be taking advantage of, especially with us having a lot of players coming back into the fold.
Okay, just right, because I'm always one for a good conspiracy here, Peter. Not to diminish what you're saying, but he said he's surprised looking at the level of experience of the managers that we've had that no one spotted the clear and obvious reason why DCL was always injured. Peter, by all means, share. Is it something that I've missed?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is obviously he's referring to the fact that he's played as a battering ram. Ball gets played up to him by himself. He's constantly doing them big leaps, putting a lot of pressure on his legs, and he's doing all that work by himself. Probably it's a lot of extraneous work. You're getting battered by 2 centre backs all the time. He's never really got much support. I think for me, it is a part of that because his game is based on physicality. But the fact that he was constantly rushed back, and it's one thing you can give credit to Sean Dyche for, is that he gave him time to get his body back. And this most recent injury and the one before that, where obviously one was a quad injury and the other one was impact to the face.
Well, Joe Hart commented on this kind of thing, the physical peripherally. He commented on it in match of the day 2, with Jess Horton and Mark Chapman. They were talking about the first yellow card that Ben Johnson got for running at Dan Burn, and he put his leg out. Now, again, this is becoming a grey area where, depending on the style of football, the level of football you've supported and watched, I think you can see where I'm going here, because I think it's going to be one of those issues, guys and girls, ladies, gentlemen, whatever you are. Tell us your thoughts. Please tell me your thoughts on that if you know about it. The yellow card that Johnson got for running at Dan Burn's left leg, and that physicality, though, that he prepares to mitigate the injury. Now, it's related to that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that DCL was always going to be doing, because whether he's contacting in the air and then tumbling and the strain on the connective tissue, you know what I mean? Just the constant physicality that you've pointed out, being a battering ram. Now, again, you know, do we protect keepers so much? Because I think was it Gutierrez or somebody didn't do very much at all, and the ball and the keeper came out and he literally just stood there. And it's like, look, the ball's there. I don't control where it's coming. I exist in a place, and the goal was disallowed. If it was at the same game.
Oh, I don't remember, to be honest. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah. But the point being, you know, they talked about it later. So DCL, do you think he's robust as Moyes pointed out?
I don't know. It's only time will tell. Like I thought he was when he finally come back. Obviously, the impact injury to his cheek at the start of the season. I thought that's fine. That's something you can work with. It is more a case of he's come in and he's hit his quad. It's a different muscle injury. But again, muscles, they overcompensate for the lack of functionality in other muscles as well. So only time will tell. I think in regards to maybe not this game, because he said he might not be ready for it. Southampton, Fulham, Newcastle.
Yeah,
The games
I mean, he said he doesn't want to put him under pressure, because I can understand that. Again, he was very honest about this, and he said, you know, what's the point of pushing for somebody to not ready, you know, to essentially, you know, he's aware, he's an experienced manager that's not going to push a player just to, you know, just to push him to his limits, when you're then going to limit the potential that you're going to get if you're going to see anything there anyway. So it's kind of a damned if you do and damned if you don't. And we again, it's another instance of just how unlucky Everton have been and are continuously. Although we've dodged was it the 777 or the MSP, whoever it is that's no longer exist.
777. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, that's the issue. Do we try and get money for him, or do we keep him, because we are going to have loads of players out of contract and we're going to be a threadbare squad, which I guess raises the question, are we going to see any lineup changes against Ipswich?
I think we'll see lineup change against Ipswich. I'll address that first. I think the back four or back five will stay the same. I can see, because I just don't think he values Beto. So I can see Beto coming out. I hope it's not for Brozier, but I can probably see that happening.
But the issue is, right, I want to ask you, can you factor in, when you just said there, I hope not about Brozier and he doesn't value Beto, is that because of his choices, or because we saw Chimiti as a sub, or is it because, you know, is it about the value? Maybe he's thought, well, Beto's reached his limit and we can get money for him, or we have to see what our budget, the dreaded word is, and our financial situation, or you know, or the fact that, you know, how do you balance needing the points or wanting the points and the 2.8 million per place over giving players match experience and getting them ready for the, you know, training and pre-season, or looking at the preparedness, you know, because they're both valuable things.
Yeah. I mean, it's a case of you don't make the massive decisions which are frivolous. So, for example, you don't bring in a Michael Keane, who we know is not going to play in the future, for one of the two centre backs just to try it out. The fact there's an opening up there for Young or Patterson to come in, that's a decision to make an experiment with. Up front, the striker position is up in the air, so that's the thing that you can experiment with by bringing in Chimiti or Calvert-Lewin instead of going with Beto or Brozier, which you've gone so far. So you can experiment there. So it's a case of you're not making wholesale change, because I think that would be suicide. And it's counterintuitive or counterproductive to try and play. If you make too many changes, it's not going to be not going to show naturally what they would do within that standard team. So I think the back five won't change. Perhaps it'll stay
just in relation to, look, I don't know how you feel about this, Corey, right? But there was a lot of mention in this press conference of DCL. There were about 3-4 questions that related specifically to him, which, one, I don't think is very useful to the lad to put a lot of pressure on him and to talk about a situation that, look, I appreciated Moyes' candor and honesty, because even if it's not necessarily, he does it tactfully, but even if it's not the most tactful approach to take, as a human being, you know, DCL's thinking about his career, his fitness, his ego, his self-esteem and sense of worth, and his future, and he's just had a kid, all these kind of things. You don't want a manager that's just going to protect you and not actually be honest about the situation, because that just creates further uncertainty. And he's like, look, this is the situation. The cards are where they are. Yeah. So, but with that in mind, I don't know. I'm not going to necessarily talk about him anymore. He's not going to play against Ipswich, and we might not see him for the rest of the season. Who knows what will happen? But would you rather have Beto, Civiti, or Broja up front, or for a kind of final hurrah?
I mean, this is personal preference. I'd rather have Beto with Alcaraz behind him because I feel like that's a partnership that could work, or at least work better than what we've had so far in terms of goal drought. Calvert-Lewin, is there a decision to make a deal to be had? Potentially. I can understand the concern with people saying that they want to. We've got that many changes in the team in terms of personnel and things like that. That maybe keeping Calvert-Lewin, even if you keep him as like a backup striker and sell Beto and get someone in, that's a possibility. But I agree with most of the people in the comments in that he's had a long injury record. Even if you use him as a sub player, is he going to be fit? It's a lot of money that he's going to want. He's not going to take a massive reduction in wages, and it just blocks the pathway for someone else. It's a risk, but I'm just always of the thought of just go for it. If the difference between Calvert-Lewin staying and going is 30 million for, let's say, Liam Delap, then going for Liam Delap, whether he chooses
I would
different thing. But there's options out there for us to take that risk on and for it to come good. And in all honesty, a lot of people hate Beto, and I can appreciate that. And I'm not going to argue against him because I can understand where they're coming from because he lacks a lot technically. But I do still think that if I'm going to take a punt on anyone, I'd take a punt on him because if you have someone like Alcaraz who's going to get closer and feed him instead of the corner who takes up the same spaces, then you'll see even better the best of Beto and his hold up play.
Sorry, that was a bit of a tongue twister. What was that again?
So
even better.
I think there's better options or better things to go with than going with Calvert-Lewin. I think Beto, I'd have got more faith in him starting and getting more goals and being better for Everton than I would do Calvert-Lewin at this point, especially considering the wages that they're on. I think you could build a team even more around Beto's abilities.
And I don't think we'd necessarily be taking out a vital cog from the machinery, because it's not as if, okay, yes, he might be prolific, but the fact that he's absent so frequently and that goals have come, although not as many and sparse, they come from elsewhere. It's not as if you're taking out a vital piece. And I just, I think everyone's disappointed that we've hoped and we've tried and we've extended faith and patience, and it's not me getting pissed off. There's no animosity towards the guy. You can't help being injured. You can't help being a victim of circumstance and his illness and Benitez changing all the backroom medical staff and every little thing that's just conspired against. And it's just a shame.
Yeah, and you know what? With Dom as well, there's no animosity towards him. I don't actually think I think he's a good player. He's a more of an instinctive goal scorer instead of a time to think about it. He's not as prolific as they were saying in the press conference, but he's a decent striker. His hold up play is fantastic. Right. But
there's a lot of spurious. Sorry, I've just noticed there's a lot of very, very spicy comments going on here, and I don't necessarily. I'm not going to tell anyone off, but I just. Let's just keep it pleasant, everyone, because, yeah. But I just, So let's move on. The press conference was a mess, and let's not let the preview descend into the same madness. So, okay, so we're probably going to see, as I think it was John said earlier, we're going to see probably very similar team, but he said Harrison. Do you think
Harrison in the corner?
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I don't want to, but I can still see us seeing the core instead of Alcaraz, which is disappointing in my mind. I can see McNeil playing, to be honest. He's brought him on earlier and earlier to varying degrees of success, but I could see him wanting to play. McNeil, obviously, he was very vocal in terms of how poor the set pieces have been. And if you take into account the amount of goals Ipswich have conceded recently from set pieces, I think it'd be a smart move or an inspired move to play Dwight McNeil over Jack Harrison.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because I don't want to steal it off anybody or not give us appropriate copyright, but doing the rounds recently has been a graph with assessments of a lot of prominent Premier League players regarding their chance creation and vital passes or what are they called, pivotal passes, and McNeil was up there in a sort of tendency of an XY sort of a band, a scattergraph. He was pretty consistent, in the top right hand corner, and I just think that is rather telling, though, that when he's not been in the team again, this is how threadbare we've been. Not just on first 11 quality players and squad players, but also who's our penalty taker? Who takes a free kick? Who takes a free kick on the left or the right, or who's going to stand over it? Someone's going to do the overlap here. It's a shame that we don't have, maybe I don't want to sell. There are plenty of football related video games available, but in a certain franchise, some players will have extra little stats when you scroll through some of their details, and they'll have like power headers or tactical flair, and they'll have all these abilities, right? And you look through some squads when you go to play a match, and they have all these extra little things, and you think, do we have a team like that?
Not stacked with it. I think set piece taker Dwight McNeil, Flair. You've got Iliman and Jai, but we've not got anyone who is rapid. We've not got anyone who's exceptional when it comes to heading the ball. So yeah, no, I think you're correct.
But yeah, John agrees with you. Iliman takes the pens. He has been a shining light. Is he? He's fit, isn't he? He's back to fitness.
He's fit to play. I don't know how fit he is in general because he's seen a little bit leggy at times. That could just be because we've come up against some really, really difficult teams and they found a way to deal with him at that level. So we'll see a bit more again tomorrow when he plays against a team that's going to offer him a little bit more space. So it's up in the air how fit he is in my mind, but we'll get a good idea of that. If he really struggles against Ipswich, it might be worth just taking him out. Just to give him a bit of rest for the end of the season so he doesn't burn himself out.
So you've watched quite a... well, I don't want to put you on the spot here, Corey, but from what I gather, you've watched enough of Ipswich to comment on their sort of play and where they might have fallen down, because they've all credit to Kieran McKenna for doing what he's done over successive promotions, but just overreached. What do you think they've fallen? Have they fallen down or fallen short?
No, they were lacking a lot of quality anyway. A lot of the players they bought coming into this season were still championship quality players. The players that you probably need to grow with the team for a year or two. Sammy Schmodix has got pace. I don't think he's a Premier League player.
Jacob question: sign Liam Delap then?
I would sign Liam Delap, yeah, for the £30 million fee proposed. I would 100% sign him. Get everything you want in a money striker. He's big, he's strong, he runs the channels, but he's also decent in the box. It is his first season in the top flight, but he's got all the ingredients there to work with. And for 30 million in the modern game, that's an absolute steal. You're buying project players at that point, not players who, at least for Everton, you're going to put as your star striker.
I mean, it's just it's rather frustrating, though, to know that if he's held in high regard and he's considered valuable stock or one for the future or a project player, something like that, it's rather frustrating that there are plenty of teams out there, even in the same league, in the Premier League, that could just decide that, well, we're going to buy him as a squad player or a bench player. He's not going to be starting 11. We're going to see, and we'll wait if someone's an injury, and we'll give him a chance, and then he'll be there 2 or 3 years, and then he'll probably leave and go somewhere else. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't want to.
He'll be a lower Premier League journeyman at that point. I mean, if you look at Wormy Spoons commented there, I don't believe he's overrated. But he could go somewhere that pays him 250 grand a week. He'll play the first couple of games at the start of the season, go on the bench, and then do nothing from there. Which I agree, if that happens, and that's what, then I could certainly see that happening. But I do think he's got all the raw ability. But that's what I'm saying, John, is that amount of money, the 30 million, would sometimes now get you a project player as opposed to the finished article when it comes to up front. I think,
is this a case of? I think if that's the case, John, and maybe I'm putting a spin on Corey's words here, but sometimes I'm guilty of it as well, going, how much for what? It's like you go down the pub with a fiver and think you're going to get 2 drinks and you struggle to get one. Yeah, you know what I mean? And maybe I'm aging myself a little
Yeah,
bit
no,
here.
no, but you're right. I mean, 30 million back in the day, you thought it's a lot of money. Now, 30 million, especially
Because
when it comes to
all I
a
think
strike,
for me is the benchmark is what did we get for Rooney?
35, was it? 30, 35?
If that, yeah. And I'm just thinking one of the greatest English player of a generation, or one of the greatest Premier League players, and we got essentially peanuts. We got enough to survive until, yeah, it's just frustrating.
No, mate, I get exactly what you mean. Beto 30 mil, exactly. So that's what Beto you paid over the odds because you were paid nothing up front, but
because we were
that's
desperate as well.
paying that kind of much amount of money, and I don't think he's a world beater, but he's got the ingredients for what we need in a striker. He's got more technical ability than Beto. He can finish much better than Calvert-Lewin. So I think he's got all the all-round ability, and he's played at Man City, so you know he can at least pass a ball and play. So I actually don't think that's our biggest priority. I think an attacking right winger is our biggest priority. But for that price on on Klarna,
yeah. So that brings us. Well, I'm going to bring us back to tomorrow, and it's going to be a bit of a fan display. Now, there were some daft questions in that press conference, like, is it going to be an occasion for the players? Like, it's not a fucking party. And let's be honest, maybe it's just me, and I don't. Of course, there are going to be players that, and there are going to be professionals there who aren't there as fans, who are fans, who will be sad and will be emotional about leaving Goodison. You know, I imagine that people have been. David Moyes has been there, 11 years and has come back. Coleman, Pickford, I don't know. There might be people who fall in love with the place immediately. But the thing is, there'll be plenty of people going there tomorrow who've been going to every game for longer than the entire squad have been alive, right? And I don't think it's really useful and conducive to a good press conference or anything really footballing to discuss, to talk about, is it an occasion for the players to go out and enjoy the... Fuck off. Sorry.
No, mate, I agree. It just seemed a lot of like blowing smoke, didn't it? In that press, because there wasn't really much that we got. We didn't really take much from it. There was much on DCL, on Dom, but there's very little else that we got from it. But for the fans, it'll be an occasion. Hopefully, that can spill into the players as well and take that forward. But for them, it's going to be another game. It's going to be, some of them are going to be on the holidays. Some of them hopefully come in and get told it's their chance, and they really want to take it. So I don't think it's going to be as much of an occasion and spectacle for the players as it is for the fans, because it is going to be the penultimate game. It's going to be the one where you can probably have a bevy beforehand, because you're not getting up at, like, you're not getting to the stadium for 11 o'clock, 11:30 kind of thing.
Well, I don't know. People might not want to be too
Inebriated.
unsober. Yeah, because what's this about the seats? I must bring this up. I know it might sound completely daft if you have no awareness, right? But apparently now it's being offered to season ticket holders to buy the seat. Now, I can understand the need to generate income, I suppose, but I'm just a bit peeved that they then package it in a presentation thing. I don't want a presentation thing. I want the 2 seats that my dad and I sat in for bloody years and years and years, and I want to stick them in the back garden and bolt them into the bloody concrete.
Yeah, but is it because yours is the wooden seat? Is it you get the back with the number on, and you get your flip, so you don't get the whole thing as well? So you don't get the rails. You're only getting the wooden flip, and you're only getting the back with your number on. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes. But you could easily don't. Like, anyway, we'll leave that there. Yeah,
Put
okay,
the turbo
100
saw
quid.
away, and put the turbo saw away.
Look, my my only regret is that I opted for power tools that are mains operated because I don't do a lot of mobile stuff and I want consistent torque. I should have opted for batteries. I should have opted for batteries. Look, it's going to be lovely. The 1878. Now, look, I did what I did, and I'm assuming people who are watching me now are watching me because you're not seething out of some obsession, going, "I hate him, I hate him." A lot of you all know I did the poems, and to me that was a thing to get the fans who liked it. Fine, if you didn't like it, just keep going. But to get everybody fired up, to sort of demonstrate and remind people and just think of things. Now, I've just been, I don't know. Yeah, sorry, forget it.
No, it's okay, mate. Go on, carry on. This is with it.
I just find it rather ridiculous that some people get so angry about celebrating the love for the club. And it's about this idea of how I love a thing, or how you celebrate a thing, or what's important to you. Like, just because we have the commonality of Everton, that's great. I'd love to find the things that we've got in common rather than that divide us, always, right? But I don't expect people to support the club in the same way I do, and I don't expect people to have the same solutions to the problems. But what I do want is for them to, and I expect all of us to be on board and go like, yeah, we actually want the same thing, but we're just different. We're different, and it's fine. And you know what? The flags, there's something. There'll be some people who, for them, that'll be it. And maybe I can understand the sentiment. They just that's it. I don't want to go to Bramley Moor because that's not Everton. And I can understand that. If there might be people who that's their entire routine, their entire life. But you know what?
Go on.
Celebrate it. It belongs to all of us. It doesn't just belong to me or you. And what the 1878s are doing is not gatekeeping. And anyone who wants to gatekeep the support, look, I can understand that it's important not to dilute it by being such a global brand that there's no real sense. We just become just another product. But by God, we are special and we are unique. And we built 3 fucking stadiums in the city that's off the back of don't tell me that we're not special. Sorry. And I love what they're doing, and I think it's fantastic. And I love it.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I don't actually have an issue with them. I mean, as someone who doesn't have the option to purchase a seat anyway, it affects me less. It certainly affects me less, but I mean emotionally. But I think £90 for it's not the end. I mean, if I was there, I personally would prefer. People don't want to, that's fine. But I think as someone who probably would have done that, I think £90 isn't even the end of the world to keep your seat. I know it's a lot, but
It's not.
it's and once you take into
I'm
account
just
the
a bit.
actual having
I'm
to
just a bit
remove it,
salty.
package it, and get it sent out.
Yeah, I'm just a bit salty that you can't have the entire. Like, it would be lovely if season ticket holders. I mean, look, because of what I've got, and I've spoken to the guys who sat next to the entire time I've been there. They don't want the upright. I could get both the upright thingies and have the 2 seats. Great, just let us have at it. Come on. And you're right. It's really not that much to have a piece of history. Absolutely. And if it comes in a presentation pack, I'm probably going to leave it. But the thing is, though, I'd like the actual seat, because in a presentation pack, I'm going to keep it there and I'm not going to want to touch it and open it. But otherwise, I'd want to sit on the seat.
You'd want to, yeah, it'd be perfect for the garden, wouldn't it? And I mean, it doesn't take much to be able to get some more wooden, and to build it into a working seat. But if it comes packaged, you want to keep it packaged.
1 second. Just lovely to have Ipswich fan on here. Hey, Jem. And tractors and all that sort of tractor boys. That's what you are, right? Oh God, wrong one. Thank you for coming on. And honestly, I don't know about you, Corey. You're a little bit younger than me, but I grew up in the 90s watching football and the sticker albums in Ipswich, and obviously even prior to then, Ipswich were historically a big team, and it's such a shame that Kieran couldn't keep you up. So I do wish you all the best, and if you're coming, I really hope you enjoy the sunshine tomorrow in L4. But thank you for that. But there's a lot of people here talking. Awesome seems to think it is an insult asking to pay for it. It is a little bit of a slap in the face, and the fact is, like, you pay a lot of money, and what will I do without this month to afford the seat? And potentially it's 2 seats because I want the one that my dad sat on. Yeah, but a lot of people, again, it comes back to it: budget, money, the horrible word that was the sword of Damocles hanging over Moyes in the press conference. And everyone's been talking about it. Peter, John, Emma, Kevin, you've all been going at it, talking about a wormy, like about strikers or who's going to be bought and the value of a player and project players. Now, again, I think it kind of goes full circle to, it really would be nice if we could just get a few more places up and get 2.8 million per extra place in the league.
Yeah, because I mean, if we get another 2-3 places on top, let's say we get another 3-4 places on top, 3 places on top of where we are at the moment, or where we could be, then they're the wages for your star player fee, for your main transfer target, that you can afford to pay more than someone else that secures them. So that is important. But also, you weigh it on in terms of trying a couple of different things, because if we play Alcaraz instead of the Corday and Alcaraz shines over the next couple of games, well, that's a 12-15 million pound purchase that you're making, instead of doing again an extra 10 million, 15 million on someone who you'd usually pay more
Who's an
for because they've got a
unknown
bit more proven.
quantity.
Exactly, yeah, for the provenness.
I mean, look, has Alcaraz impressed you enough to want to trigger that purchase thing? Because for me, maybe, I don't know, but I recall comments that were, he wasn't the player that we wanted to get, but we've got him. It seemed a little bit like, but maybe it feels like the young lad who's like, okay, like I'm on my ass here and this is my chance. If I don't get it, I'm getting the flight home kind of thing. And I can't fault him. He's gone out, he's tried, he's gone all guns blazing, but he's not been headstrong and not gone like diving in. And he's been smart at times. There's a few times he's made those not dangerous, not unprofessional, but those cynical fouls to break up play. There's been times when he's known to just go at it and cause a bit of chaos. And to me, well, yeah, that.
Yeah, no, I like his fight. I like that he's willing to go looking for the scrap, metaphorically and literally. And I think he's got the technical ability. I think there's other number 10s that I think I prefer over him. But for the price that you're paying, for the fact he's probably going to cost half of what a lot of them number 10s cost, and he's less of an unknown quality and he fits in, I can see him, if he stays, becoming the kind of cult hero that Tim Cahill was. He's got a similar build, different play profile, but although he's not the biggest, he'll scrap and he'll get in and he'll become big and he'll come clutch.
Okay, so David, awesome, and have said to and James Graham said, 16 million. Was that all it was? I thought it was like 22 or something.
No, it was roughly 15 million is the obligation, but now that he's not played enough games to activate that obligation, there's rumours on if there's a option to buy a lower fee, or would we just negotiate a lower fee, lower than the agreed 15 million obligation.
Yeah, so this is going to be Fans Day. I don't necessarily know. I can't speak with any authority on what's going on and people not associated with the club that are, doing stuff. But I think it would be nice to get to the game a little bit earlier, because there'll be stuff in the fan zone and things. So I think, though, that they're testing the waters. And but tomorrow, yeah, looking forward to it. Sunshine, Ipswich are going to be. They're going to want to steal something from us, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, when you've watched them play, like I said, the defense has been at odd 6s and 7s and things like that. However, I've just realised my microphone's not even plugged in. So they've been at 6s and 7s. They've lost a bit of discipline. Obviously, 2 red cards in the last 2 games. There's a couple of passes that are going quite wayward as well, and Liam Delap was, sorry to keep talking about him, but he hasn't scored. His goal contributions have dried up significantly because he's not getting that support. So they're really, really struggling all over. I think their heads have finally gone. Now, whether they've been able to kind of get over that stage of grief and then come and then being the composition that we've expected, I'm not too sure. I think they'll still give it a good go. I think they'll be a bit fiery still, but I think we'll have too much for them, and we should do. I think I could see it being 2-0 or 2-1. I can see multiple goals for
Really?
Everton.
Oh, see, I was hoping for a really lovely day in the sun, get 2 or 3 goals in the first half, maybe let Ipswich get a consolation goal, and to keep us sort of mindful that not complacent, and then we get the fourth, and then God, what is it then? It's who is it after Ipswich before Fulham,
We've got
and
Fulham,
then
Southampton, Newcastle.
Southampton, Newcastle. Yeah, yeah, because Fulham actually are doing all right, aren't they?
Yeah,
Relatively.
they're going for Europe. They're a few points behind the teams above them. But with the amount of European places available this season, quite probably going to be able to get even with it's like Europa or Conference League spots.
Um, Peter here. Peter, it's just wildly. Well, what? I like tangents. So we covered this. I think we're going to see a very similar lineup to Everton and Ipswich than we have seen. We've discussed this. We can't necessarily guess because I think it's all down to who might and might not be fit because we want to see McNeil. That I think McNeil is the pivotal thing, and then it becomes a case of who are we going to see up front, and then I think that might be telling to suggest who we're going to see in the coming weeks, because obviously DCL's we know he's ruled out. Chimiti's come on instead of Broja. Yeah, sorry, but Peter here has talked about it. That 4-2-3-1. I'll throw it out there. What do you think?
I mean, it's a more structured version of the 4-3-3.
It's when you say
So
structured, it's a more defensively protectionist because you've got two defensive midfielders that can slot in and cover the channels, allowing the centre backs to cover an overlapping man if they run on the wings or come over into
they
channels and stuff.
they'll sit deeper. Your wingers will sit deeper, but also instead of having three banks of players, 4-3-3, you've got 4 banks of players, 4-2-3-1.
Yeah,
And yeah, James is right. If you had more, if you had wingers that were rapid, then you could play them further up, and they could be a bit more dynamic.
because
If we
what
had,
was it?
let's see more. Go on, mate.
What was it that was it Dembele or who was it who was doing against Arsenal in a Champions League analysis when they were running along the wings, running, drawing a man over. Basically, this is what Everton don't do sometimes, and it's rather frustrating. And then it's these fundamentals that that we're going to fall apart. It's like trying to play ticky-tacky with when you can't even get the fundamental passes right, when there's not an awareness that playing where he's going to be and all this kind of stuff. It is frustrating, but then we haven't seen that from Ipswich. We see it from Forest at times. So do you think they're going to actually threaten us?
I think they've got the ability to. I think we should, and I'll be really disappointed if we don't win the game. But we've not been as we're still. I mean, our form is the same as theirs: 1 win, 1 draw, 4 points in the last 5. We have played much more difficult opposition.
Hmm.
So again, this is going to be like the litmus test where we see if we should be a lot better than what we have shown in the past. It shows our level essentially. This game, they
But
they
then
can
that,
they can still trouble us, but we should
but it, but
certainly have more than enough to beat them.
because it does raise that interesting point though that when we have had players play in that 4-2-3-1 when they've been the one up front, they've the ones that have succeeded, the ones that have meant to have been good players haven't, because they've not risen to the challenge. They've not had the complete Erling Haaland or whatever, complete footballer, just go, run, chase every ball, close every pass, chase head, kicks, volley, everything, right? When they have succeeded, though, they've been players of that caliber, like Romelu Lukaku, and Sahar, when he was at the tail end of his career, but he's he was a very, very good player. I'm just trying to think of some of the players we've had that have really excelled in that position. So the reason why I asked about are Ipswich going to be a threat is, does Delap play up front on his own?
Yes.
Yeah. So if that's him at Ipswich, what's to say, is he going to shine at Everton, or is he going to push us up to offer more in that, to give up to give the freedom to the other players to actually do the play because he's drawing 2 men around, or can he do that in a one man?
Yeah, I mean, he's shown that he can do it for Ipswich. I think if you just get the support around him and a better team, which Ipswich was showing earlier on in the season, when they got support to Amari Hutchinson, potentially when he got a bit more support around him, he was able to show a lot more.
But this is that's kind of a point here, Peter. That Peter said. But anyway, look, I do apologise because we are going to have a lot of. Well, Ryan wants us to have a wall-to-wall coverage of obviously end of the season, the commemorative stuff. Bramley moved to Bramley Moor. But we are touching on all sorts of stuff because we're going to have a season review and the transfer and everything like this. And it's been a bit nebulous because it's all mathematically done, and it just comes down to, well, who's fit? Are we going to get a positional 2.8 million here or there? There's been, but I feel maybe we're going to dance around too much of the houses and cause everyone to argue with each other in the comments, guys. It's been great reading, though, hasn't it?
It has been fantastic, yeah. To be honest, a couple of times I've been trying to listen to you, but we're getting really, really sucked into the drama to my right-hand side.
Yeah. It's just been here. I mean, honestly, you see, going on it. Eugene came in late as well, and he's been wading in. Everton need to take the chances in front of goal against take the chances. Absolutely. But there was something else he said that I'll be scrolling through. Look, honestly, guys, can we get your score predictions? Because Corey's gone for, he wants to see what, 2-0, 2-1. I would really love. I'd really love for you, 3 points is 3 points, but I would love for us to get some goals, to get some confidence, to go away, to get points on the board, to get places, to try and get something at Fulham, to come back and smash Southampton, because I'm not going to lie, the last day of the season, it's probably going to be a fight for positions in Europe and Newcastle can turn it on. And we're away from home. It might be emotional. We've said goodbye. It's the last day of the season. Some players might have checked out, etc. And I don't, I'd like to get as many points as possible.
Yeah, that's it. We want to be as positive as we can, especially in these last 2 home games. That's essentially what we're aiming for.
James has gone 3-1, splitting the difference. Emma 2-0. All right. John, not very confident, 1-0, but he's gone for the 3 points, so we'll take it. We could do for the goal difference over Spurs, isn't it? I think we've still got a better one. 2-0 if we get a couple of own goals. And Peter.
Desmond.
With all in the world, and I know you're probably already there, Peter, but go home, mate. Yeah. But on that note, yeah, what is it? It sounded like, is it the 2 Ronnies or Little and Lot? Yeah, it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from him.
Yeah. No, thank you for joining us on this lovely, balmy, still sunny Friday evening ahead of the penultimate home game at Goodison Park. We will hopefully see some of you post-match, stuff like that, maybe there. And we'll see you in the weeks to come as we wrap up the 25 season. Come on, you Blues. Thank you very much. Anything to say before we wrap it up? Totally.
No, I think just go for it, be positive. And like I said, this is the litmus test. This is where we find out how good we are and how good some of these players are. So make the most of it.
Peter, I'm sorry, I can't, but every silver cloud has a grey lining, whereas Peter's there going, I can't agree, we make players shit because we're fundamentally crap. At least there are several teams more crap than we are this year.
That's it. That's all we need.
Whereas James is being ultimately optimistic. Beto hat-trick. Up the Toffees. Lovely to see you again, Corey. Thanks for joining us.
See you later, mate. Thank you.